Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, February 21st, 2025. So we come back out the conversation with Javi and Jada, right? So Javi is telling Jada that Rafe cheated on her the day of their wedding. The night before their wedding. And he came there to help him get ready for the wedding day, right? So he came in and he noticed that there was a woman there in a towel. And turns out, Rafe was trying to put it off at first. But then he told Javi that he actually slept with a stripper that was at his bachelor party. So Jada didn't want to believe it at first. And Jada is saying, maybe she was there to, get her money. And he said, no, he paid her the night before. And, she just couldn't believe Rafe would do that out of all the things he has done. He's not like that. But Javi said, yeah, it actually happened. And he swore me to secrecy. And, I really wanted to tell you I was torn. And I had to tell somebody. So I saw Leo. And she was mad that he told Leo. But he said, Leo, was like a friend to me, and he actually wanted to stand up for me on the wedding day and tell you the secret. And I even stand up to tell you, but then Rafe came out with those accusations. So she said that, she's upset at that, but she also understands that Javi is family to Rafe, and she gets that because she would keep secrets for Talia as well. So she understands the family loyalty. She's just hurting that Rafe would do that to her, right? So she's in the square by herself, crying, her head down, and Sean at some point comes over there, and she just, cries into his arms. So hopefully they don't make them an item, because I really want Rafe to be found and them to pick up where they left off. But yeah, on yesterday's episode, Ava was found by Steve and Brady, and of course she is grateful for that, because she didn't think nobody was coming to her rescue. So she tells them that she's been held captive. It was in part to Rachel and also her grandmother, Rachel Blake. So at first, before she said the name, Brady was saying Marlena. She said no. Come on, Brady, Marlena, really? But anyway, she says that it's Kristen's mom. And of course, at first they didn't believe her because, they've heard that she died all these years ago. So she said, no, I couldn't believe it either, but she actually, is alive, and at first they thought she was, making up things. She was hallucinating. So she said, no, and I swear on my son that she's alive. So Steve goes and, check out the place. So Ava and Brady begin talking, and Ava says that, Rachel was the one who came up with the idea, and then her grandmother was the one who kind of manipulated it further and, held her captive. And then Kristen at some point find her, and, she tells Brady the story of how Kristen found out where she was. She found the phone and her phone and a scrapbook of the place, and that's what led her there. And then she was about to help her, but then her mother persuaded her to not do it, so that Rachel is not implicated in any crime later on, right? So she was doing it to protect her daughter. So then Steve ends up finding the lady at some point, but then we'll go into detail further on. We go back to the conversation between Rafe and Rachel, right? So Rachel tells Rafe that she's doing this because EJ Demare has her doing it, and she's doing it in order to protect her daughter and her granddaughter. So he wanted to pry further as to ask her who, this mother and granddaughter are, but she's not telling him. And he said, look, if EJ has you against your will doing something in return, like, I can help you. I can make sure that you have immunity against this, and I can make sure he goes down for what he did. Like, EJ is just like his father, ruthless, even worse, right? Stefano molded him, right? So Rachel's familiar with Stefano and all of that, and he was convincing her slowly to let him go and all of that, right? But she said no, she can't. She promised EJ that she was gonna take care of him and all that. So she comes out, and there goes Steve. So Steve said, oh, so Ava was right about you. So she said, who are you and what you trespassing in my place? So he said that I'm Steve Johnson. I am the father of Ava's son. You've had her captive for a while, and, you can come willingly, or I can, we can do this the hard way, right? So at this point, I thought that he would hear Rafe screaming, because she did put the gag up on him. But boy, I really was hoping that Steve would open the door and find the real Rafe, and this nightmare would be over. But nobody really came to look on Rafe at all. On yesterday's episode, Kristen tells EJ that, she found a solution to their problems and basically killing two birds with one stone, but not literally, right? So she takes out this serum, right? So she tells EJ that this is the serum that, their sister Megan Hathaway used on them and, held them captive for a while, and they kind of forgot about what happened to them, but at some point it wore out and they remembered who held them captive down there. But EJ is worried about that same aspect, and she said no worries about that. Dr. Ralph perfected it. It's a stronger dosage, so he said okay, let's believe that this will happen. So he's really skeptical about it, that it may not work. So she said, do you have any better plans as to what to do? So he said no. So I guess they're just working with that. So they said that they have to go down there before Steve and Brady get to them, right? So they go down there and they realize that Rachel is gone, Ava is gone. So EJ is panicking and saying like, did they take Rafe too? So he runs off to go find him, right? So Sean is there looking on evidence to find something that will incriminate EJ for what he did for what was done to Jada, right? So Belle comes in. Belle is saying hi, Sean. So he's like, hello, DA Black. So she said, what's with the formalities? So he said, just trying to keep it professional. And she said, what is going on? So he said, I'm just finding evidence against your boyfriend, right? So she said, not that it matters, but he's not my boyfriend. And what about innocent until proven otherwise, right? So he said, come on now, EJ doesn't have an innocent bone in his body, and I can't believe that you would really go down this way and sleeping with him again. And she said, I told you I only slept with him once. Like, who would tell you that? So he said, Jada. So I asked Jada what's up, because Jada went over to the mansion and she saw you, and you said you was looking for Johnny, but you wasn't. You was with EJ. So she said, so what does it matter to you that I'm sleeping with him? Like, last time I checked, we're divorced, and it's none of your business who I slept with. So I said, yes, it is, because at the end of the day, he's the one who framed Jada, and I'm gonna prove it. So she said, like, you believe that EJ is the one for that caused all the crimes in this town. So he said, of course I do. And him, and if it's not him, it's Kristen. So I just think that you would do better. And she said, like, regardless of whatever, I'm not gonna let my personal life interfere with standing by the law. So he said, I don't believe that. And she said, like, come on now, I thought you were, a better person. And she said, I'm still a good friend and all of that. So I said, no, you're not. You're not even a good woman, a good person, a good sister at all. So they just was arguing back and forth. And she bring up the whole thing with Talia, because she's saying Sean is acting holier than thou and throwing all her sins at her. And I'm saying, she has a valid point. They're divorced. I don't see why Sean feels so bothered that she is messing around with EJ. Like, would he still feel the same way if it was with somebody else in town? Because at the end of the day, you asked for her to sign these papers. So it doesn't matter who she's with, whether he's unscrupulous or not. So Steve comes in with Rachel and he's like, can you guys stop arguing to, deal with this matter? So meet Rachel Blake, or the lady in white, or otherwise Kristen's mom, right? So they have her booked in there, and he gives Steve and Belle some time to talk. So Steve is asking Belle, what was that about? Want to talk about it? So she said, not really, right? So she, asked him more about Rachel Blake, and he said, turns out she was the one who held Ava captive. And, we go on to Brady and Ava, because I didn't mention earlier. So Brady did take Ava to the hospital and to get her checked out. She was against it, but he just wanted to know that she's all right physically. And he lets her talk to Tripp, because Tripp has been worried about her. So she did call Tripp and let him know that she's all good, right? So she thanks Brady and Steve for really coming through. And I'm saying Steve needs to be an honorary member of the police force, because he is not only finding out where people are, but also bringing them in. So he's doing a lot of their work, and they can't repay him enough. So back to EJ, right? So EJ catches up with Rafe, who's tied up still, and he said, thank God you're still here. So he said, he has something to give him. So he pulls down the gag and he tells, Rafe is saying, what is this? More sedative. So he said, no, something a little stronger to wipe out your memory. So Brave is saying, you don't want to do this, just let me go. So I said, I'm afraid we can't do that. And it's better for all of us if you don't remember what happened to you. So he proceeds to come forward with the syringe and, somehow Rafe gets to start fighting him so that he's not injecting him with it. And Kristen is coming in and Kristen's like, EJ. So I don't know if Rafe got the better handle of him, and I'm hoping that he got it and he can escape, and him and Jada can get back to where they were, because at this point Jada is thinking everything is over. Rafe is a bastard, he's a cheater, everything in the book, and I really don't want her and Sean to get closer. So hopefully this mess can be all solved by next week. But that is it, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to my channel. Comment below your thoughts on today's episode. I will see you guys next week.